Good evening, everybody. What's happening? Welcome to Barnabas Brushes. My name is Patrick. I play the character of Barnabas Quint on the Elite Encounters Soul Sever campaign. But you already knew that. Elite Encounters is a Pathfinder 2nd Edition live play. It plays every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern right here on Twitch. You can check the link for those channels down in my recommended channel links down below. Banner for Elite Encounters is up above. You should recognize that double E logo when you find any of that content. Pathfinder 2nd Edition live play set in a homebrew world of Iota Dree. That's what the Soul Sever campaign is. And we just came off of an episode last night that was a little bit of a doozy. We had some interesting discoveries beneath the city of Ash and Ember. We recovered the Pyrrhic Eye for the Ashen Oracle. And hey, what's up in Elite Encounters? Thanks for coming in. Man, just going over what we were doing last night in the on the episode. Man, what a fun episode! Return to the Eye. Found out some very interesting oracular information. Maybe about Sunshine. I don't know. Definitely setting us on the course for something epic over there. Um, we'll see. We'll just have to see what happens. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday at 6 o'clock Eastern. In the meantime, what we're doing here on Barnabas Brushes is painting miniatures for use on the Elite Encounters live plays. So all of our live play shows are in studio, face to face with each other around a table, with miniatures, maps, dice, you name it. Everything is right there, old school RPG way. I know in today's society, it's very easy to get into the virtual tabletop and find groups, from all over the world and gather together electronically. There's nothing wrong with that, but we like that old school feeling at Elite Encounters. So at least I do. Um, so anyway, let's stop yapping and get to slapping because we have a couple new miniatures from the Epic Encounters line. We're working on the Epic Encounters Camp of the Bandit Twins kit. So we finished up the Undead Horde a few weeks ago, and we've been working away through a new kit. Epic Encounters are miniature kits produced by Steamforge Games. They come with a number of miniatures, this booklet of stats and encounters, and a cool double-sided flip mat for use in your RPGs. For us here, the audience chose last time to paint through the mountain goat mounted banditry of this particular set. And so I picked a couple of the archers out of the set. We're going to be working on these mounted archers that are riding on these really cool Himalayan looking mountain goats. So before we get to painting them, though, we need to finish out our priming. Hey, Pelican, welcome thanks for coming in. So we got two of these. I was about to say bad boys, but when you look close at these, maybe after we slap them up with our slap chop prime, these are actually the bandits on the goats here are female archers. So we'll get those primed up and maybe get some color on them here. So when we're doing slap chop, we start off with a black primer. So these usually come in a gray or off-white plastic molded. And then to get paint on them and to get the paint to stick to them, we're going to want to add some primer on them first, some nice layers of primer. So we'll start off with black, and then we're going to slap chop or grisaille prime up by dry brushing through gray all the way to white. So let's get that started. First, I need some paper towels. So while I'm getting set up, how is everybody doing this afternoon, evening? We're getting a little bit of rain here, so everything is kind of dark and dismal outside. All right, so I'm gonna get a little bit of gray primer, throw that in my palette. For my dry brush, I'm going to drop it on the floor. First thing, right off the bat. Nice, nice. Overtime is always rough when you're in it, but when you get the check, it's always worth it. All right, so the dry brush we're using is just a little $2 eyeliner blender brush. And load just the tip of the brush with some of this gray primer, so just the ends of those bristles, and then wipe that out until there's nothing left visible on the brush. Wipe it out on a paper towel or any other rough surface will work. Right, and then we'll just slap on down in a downward stroke with the dry brush. Yeah, old school way. That way, when the power's out or the EMP burst hits, you're still in good shape. All right. So right off the bat, we're starting to see some really cool textures on this model. The bandits have like fur-lined boots. The mountain goat has really cool, like a mane. He's very impressive horns. Lots of fur on their lower limbs. Looks like we've got a canteen mounted here with some leather. Gotta be careful priming this bow because it's really just attached by this little wrist. And if I put too much pressure on that, it'll snap right there at the wrist. So I definitely want to support that while I'm hitting that with the dry brush. It's really wanting to break off. Got these really cool armor pieces too. These kind of like studded leather knee pads. Well, that's pretty good on the gray for this model, I think. Just make out that face and that underneath that furred hood. No, music is not playing today. For some reason, I could not get Media Player to play while OBS was going. So I think next time I'll have to start the music first, then start OBS, and go from there. Lots of weird, wonky nuances with tech lately. I blame the gremlins. Yeah, he may have. It's contagious. I got it all over my hands and brought it home. When in doubt, blame Overwatch. We want to get some of this gray in there, even though there's shadows between her body and her mount. We don't want it to be totally black because then any color we lay on it will not really show up very well. But we want that shadow still in there. Okay, I think now we can highlight up with our white primer to really bring those highlights of the model out. We're going to hit it very lightly from the top down with white primer now. Same thing, just a little bit on the brush and wipe out the excess. We're going to leave those shadows alone in the middle there. We'll just keep the gray because not a lot of light is going to hit in there between the rider's body and the mount. So now we have some pretty effective highlights there with the slap chop. A little bit more on the tops of those horns. Even the fletching on the arrows has some really cool texture. Just make it out on camera there. That'll come out a little bit more when we add that slap chop on there. Arrow fletching is always one of my, it's always a fun texture to paint, but I have a problem with picking the right color because, do you want your fletching to be bright and, you know, easily seen as you shoot your arrows, or do you want them to just kind of be natural color, like a white or an off-white fletching? I guess it depends on what you're shooting for. But you also want them to kind of stand out from the model too, because they're just cool to paint. All right. The camera, you can do it. There we go. Cool. Let's hit this base a little bit more. This base is going to be like a rocky base with some snow covering. So yep, I'm going to clean out that dry brush. Some clean water and wipe that off on a clean paper towel or a thin section of paper towel. All right. Yeah, basing your models can be a whole hobby in and of itself, right? If you want to get really into it, it can take a lot of materials, sculpting materials. I keep some stuff on hand, like some cork to just kind of tear up and make some texture out of, create some like rocky texture. I keep a lot of different sand and ballast on hand to kind of fill in. I make There are certain paint companies that make terrain paint. Um I won't name them, but they'll make a such and such mud. Uh, they'll have like a certain name for the mud, and it's basically just glue, paint, and dirt, which I can make at home. So I get some cheap craft paint, some railroad ballast from the hobby store, some fine sand, and some white uh, PVA glue, your school glue, Elmer's glue, and just mix it up into like almost like a toothpaste consistency, and then use a really crappy brush and just brush that mud paint onto your base and build up texture that way. I also use reptile bark, so like bark that you would put in as bedding for a terrarium for reptile. Makes really great rocky bases for your miniatures to stand on. I already said ripped up cork. I've got green stuff. I've got all kinds of fake little plants and tufts for the grasses. So you can really go to town and go ham on bases. Yep, and then yeah, with 3D printing, you come with custom bases that have all that stuff already on them. Certain Games Workshop model kits, their bases are really intricate, like the Underworlds box games. Those miniatures are usually like a war band of like 3 to 5 miniatures, and a lot of times their bases are sculpted with a lot of cool texture on them, and you just got to paint them. You don't have to build them up with any of your materials. So it just depends on what you're doing. But basing itself, like, if you want to spend time, going nuts with a base, or if you just want to simulate a stone floor like we did with this orc lady here by just painting different colors of gray to make it look like there's stone floor. Yeah. Well, is it lazy or is it just, not a lot of time, and you got to move on and do bigger and better things maybe. That's my problem. Like I don't have hours and hours to play with bases sometimes. Okay, let's start laying some color down on our models. Now, I've pulled up some reference pictures of some mountain goats, and most of them are white, and that's going to be very boring to paint this whole thing white. So we're going to play around a little bit with color and get a little stylized and creative. I've looked at an alpine ibex as kind of more of a reference for the creature we'll do here. And these guys, a little bit more buff colored. Okay, hey man, own it if we'll go with it. Lazy it is. So we're gonna do some brown on the fur, some buff color on on the main body, which is also covered in fur. It's just a finer fur. And then the horns, and we'll have our goat painted up. And then we also have this leather saddle to contend with. So we'll make sure we don't get any paint on any of our leather bits. The saddle, there's a little strap here with some containers and pouches we'll want to keep nice and neat. So let's start off with a buff color for the body. Hmm. And I think for that purpose, we might use, hmm, let's think here. A few different choices I want to look at under some light. Hmm, don't like that one. All right, so we'll experiment with our first one. I think for the main body, we're going to use sand golem, which is kind of a buff brown, sandy brown color. And that's actually, I don't think that's what I really want. So I'm going to take that off with, I'm just going to wet my brush, really slap the water on there. Oh, there's a color I might want to play with called Howling Sand. That might be my go-to. I just gotta remember where it is in this kit. Just resuspend that pigment. And we might add a little drop, just a brushful of Sangha. It's more like, okay, here we go. All right, see if I can try to avoid dropping my model too much. Paint in the face and the ears. And we're going to go over where the eyes and the nostrils are because we'll touch those up with some paint just to make it a little bit more realistic looking, but we'll just go over the skin right now. Okay, for the fur, we'll go with a darker brown. And for that, we'll use ruddy fur, which is a reddish brown. Like a clawed tip, we'll clean that out real quick with our need a bigger desk. With the speed paint, you can see when you paint that on there, it just flows right into the texture of the model. The darker pigment going into the shadows and the lighter pigment staying on top. Tabletop paint quality in one go. Super easy. Not sure I'm liking the body color, honestly. I tone that down with a wash. It's just a little too yellowy for me. It looks more like a lion's body or something. Hey, if I was painting a lion, I have a color recipe now. So I'm going to thin down that ruddy fur with some speed paint medium and make it into a really thin, almost like a glaze. And we'll try to tone down this yellow. Right, for the riders' faces, they just have just a little bit of face exposed under their hood. We're gonna hit their face with peachy flesh. This is my go-to light colored flesh tone. All right, I got a lot of clogged tips today. There's not a lot of exposed skin on these guys because they are up in the mountains. It's just that face there, right over the bow. And yet, like we did with the mountain goat face, we'll just put the flesh color on the whole face, and then we'll go back and deal with the eyes afterwards. Got the rider's hair kind of coming out from under the hood and back onto their coat. All right, I think we'll do the leather saddle now. And for that, we're going to use hardened leather. And this will hit that little canteen container, those little pouches on the side. And then we'll think about the colors that we're going to want on the rider. And I want those to be different from the mount. This canteen holder has a little like goat head motif there on the back. Just barely make it out. Oh, is throwing off the focus of the camera. There's some awkward spaces to get into with this brush. Okay, I think we'll use that same leather for the quiver. Leather in the saddle. Use that same color for her quiver. It has a couple cool buckles on it. And that little ram head motif again. Okay, that should be the quiver there. For that little bit of hair that she has coming out of her hood, I think I'm going to do the hair with black. So we use Grim Black from the 1.0. See that there's some difference in the label with the Grim Black from the first iteration of Speed Paint to the second, where they've changed the highlighting and everything. So we'll use the old 1.0. Just need a tiny little bit for the hair. Coming out from under this furred hood on both sides here. Now this is the tricky part, getting under, over the bow and under the face. Okay. Well, it's hard to believe, but we are coming to the top of the hour. So we're gonna have to let those guys dry and work on them next time when we're back for Barnabas Brushes on Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern next week. Until then, you can catch Overwatch tomorrow at 8 o'clock Eastern. His channel is linked down below there. He'll be streaming. I don't know what game he'll be streaming. We'll see. I hope he's feeling better. If you're out there, Overwatch, take care and hope to see you tomorrow. Then we'll be back here Monday at 5 o'clock Eastern, like I said, for Barnabas Brushes, where I'll do my miniature Mondays. I'll work on a couple things that I'm projects I've got going here, either commissions or for my own collection. And then Tuesday, we're right back in the studio for our Soul Severed campaign, Tuesday at 6 o'clock Eastern on the main Elite Encounters channel, also linked down there in my recommended channels. Please give us a check out. While you're there, if you're enjoying what we're doing, whether it's the painting here, the live play of Pathfinder 2nd Edition, whatever you do, you could support us on Patreon. So the link to the Patreon is on the Elite Encounters channel. The Patreon there has 4 tiers. The trained tier, which is these are all after the Pathfinder proficiencies. The trained tier is just a $2 a month tier. You get access to our Patreon only Discord where you can have direct talk with the cast and crew. You can ask us anything about what's coming up, character concepts, behind the scenes story, whatever we want to talk to you about. You know, and then if you bump up the next tier in the expert tier, you'll get a couple vinyl stickers for that, and also access to that Discord channel. That you get at the $2 tier. The $10 tier, you'll get a nice printed T-shirt, not the Barnabas Brushes T-shirt. You'll get the Elite T-shirt that you'll see sometimes the cast and crew wear at some of our shows. And then at the $15 tier, you will get a custom hoodie. And man, those hoodies, I'm a big fan of the hoodie. They're very comfortable. They're nice and warm in the house when it's super cold outside and you just need that extra layer on. Um, so if you can support us, that definitely will help us bring you more and improved content. All of this takes materials and time and technology that we appreciate any help we can get to kind of push us along and bring us to that next level of quality in the entertainment that we're bringing. You can also follow us, subscribe. Anything you listen to on the podcast, if you give us a rating on your podcast platform, you can like it, you can 5-star it on Spotify, whatever it does, pushes those numbers up so other people can see us. We really love our audience that we built so far, and we'd like to grow that audience, and we need your help to do that. So please, anytime you're watching us, just hit a thumbs up, hit a like, hit a 5-star, whatever it takes. All that stuff we appreciate very much. In the meantime, catch us next week. Well, after Overwatch's show tomorrow. Catch us next week at Elite Encounters. Until then, take care, everybody. Have a great weekend. Super Bowl Sunday coming if you're a fan. Anyway, have a great time. Good evening.